All right, so this is the kind of the first session of our core training, and the goal here is to really, one, help get you introduced to legends, help you understand a little bit about our background, opportunity to meet some of the people who you're going to be interacting with. Of course, this includes Audrey, just to make sure that if there's any questions about the company, myself, Jonathan will stop by. Have you had a chance to talk to Rick at all?
I texted him, but that was on a bad day. He was
Okay.
He was out.
Oh, that was
Yeah.
Dr. Day. Anyway, so okay. So we just want to make sure that you just have a chance to get to know everybody, get to know a little bit about the background, because part of what we really focus on is the business planning part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you understand our story a little bit, it gives you an opportunity to kind of dovetail your story into it. Also gives you that foundation. When you're starting out in real estate, sometimes you're not really sure, how do I position myself? You guys obviously have a background from the buying side and managing side, and that's great to come with that perspective. But the challenge then becomes, how do I tell a story? How do I, in addition to people who already know me, like me, trust me, how do I get them to also use me as a real estate professional?
True, right.
With 11,000 of us out there,
Yeah.
which is a little scary on its own. But,
yeah.
Everybody has their own centers of influence. Everybody has their own circles of influence. Everybody knows certain people with different backgrounds. So it's important to be able to find niches,
Mm-hmm.
and it's important to be able to find opportunities, but then to be able to solidify that relationship as a realtor base. And we feel very strongly as a company that when you're out there, you're representing, of course, yourself, and you're representing the brokerage. So we want to make sure that you have an opportunity to understand the different avenues to develop business, different opportunities to develop business, and to begin to tell your own story with a foundation from who we are and what we've done. Because we're very fortunate that in 10 years, we've created a very strong reputation for our company.
Yeah.
And that's in part because of the players, it's in part because setting an expectation of the agents that join us, it's in part because we work together with them to try and create a stronger foundation. So that's kind of a little bit about what today is. The introduction portion will be understanding a little bit about our background. I think you already know a little bit about our background, but there are a couple things we want to share that I think can help differentiate us and help you take those statistics, those pieces that we've accomplished to use as part of your story too as a real estate professional. So that's kind of what we're going to be looking at a little bit. Jonathan's going to pop by, who's the head of our property management, just to kind of give you an idea how that works. You'll hear some of what you heard in our last sales meeting, but also an opportunity to ask him questions. We're going to try and get Rick via Zoom call.
Oh, really?
So we'll see how that goes.
Okay.
Just so you can see him face to face, know who you'd be talking to, and a little bit about get to know him a little bit. You'll get to meet Erica also, not that you haven't already, but just to understand a little bit more about what she does to try and assist you, as well as our company growth. She really is fantastic at managing our presence out there, which can be a very huge benefit for you guys.
Yeah.
So any initial questions that you want to make sure we cover, any initial thoughts? It's going to be you and me today because Christine wasn't able to make it this morning, so it's really very, very casual.
Perfect. No, that's perfect. No, I don't have any upfront questions.
Okay, cool. All right, so then what we can do is we'll just jump right into it. So what is a legend? If I were to say, what is a legend, what would your thoughts be on what is a legend?
Like, someone with a story to tell, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's oftentimes people think, oh my gosh, it's someone who's, done something for a very long period of time, or, it's someone with an incredible reputation.
Mm-hmm.
And all of those things play into it, but it really is, it is the story. It is someone who has a story to tell. And from our perspective, what's cool is that we don't take it from, well, we're all legendary. I had an agent who did join us, but initially he said, I really haven't been doing this that long.
Right.
And, I'm really not legendary except in my own mind.
Right.
And it's like, well, great, that's a good place to start.
Yes.
But he has such a great story to tell, not only about his background, but the things he had done since he joined real estate. So there's always a story to tell. But really what we try to focus on are the stories for the buyers and the sellers. And especially in a market like this where the stories are just so broad. They come from all different walks, and they come from all different strategies, and they come from all different ways. We really want to look to find that story to be able to help our seller tell the story of the home that they've enjoyed for 1 year, 20 years. We want to help the buyer tell their story in the process so that we can help them understand, or we can understand a little bit better about where they want to go. So really, when we talk about legends from our standpoint, it's the story that one has to tell, it's the story that one has to share. It's the opportunity to develop a story as you create a new home too.
Yeah.
So a new place for you, a new place for your family, a new place to enjoy life. So that's really kind of what we like to focus on. We're very fortunate to have people in our company who have been in the industry for years.
Yeah.
Which is great because it sets a standard and also helps us launch off of those opportunities. So we really look to help people understand what the stories are, and then to be able to tell the stories, to kind of move forward. Part of the story is also, I think, what we've learned, especially in this changing market, is the story also becomes the strategy. So you as the realtor have to understand the different strategies that are out there. It's intense. Talking to a buyer and trying to figure out how that buyer is going to be able to either win what's happening, and I hate to use that word, win, but it really is when you're getting into a situation where you have multiple offers.
Right.
It's helping the seller understand and differentiate between the stories that the buyers are sharing, because really truly the story that a buyer shares to a seller is solely that document of purchase and sale agreement and any other forms that one submits with it.
Right.
So it's not always easy, and unfortunately we have a lot of individuals who sometimes jump into this business for a split or hot minute. Right. Because they think they can make a buck, and they don't know how to share. They don't know how to share with the seller the story that's being told. They don't know how to talk to the buyer about the strategies that may be available to them so that they can position themselves stronger. And when they jump in for a hot minute, they also don't keep themselves abreast of the market or the market changes to be able to say to a seller, look, I know you want to get as much as you can for your home, and I know you think now is the right time, but please let me share with you these 3 things are happening in the market, and the market is shifting.
Yeah.
So and we're seeing that. We're seeing that now. Mm-hmm. It's in most of the real estate publications that the market is shifting. Yeah. We've seen cash buyers at very high end pull out because they're concerned about the shifts in the stock market. They're concerned about shifts in finances. So it's a changing market, constantly changing business.
Yeah.
Which you've probably seen.
I've seen a bit of that, yeah. Yes.
A little bit of it, right?
Yeah.
A little bit. So anyway, we're really looking at what the story is, and I know that you had experience with Buzz, but what are some of the other reasons that you felt after not only meeting Buzz, but talking to Audrey, talking to some of us, that brought you, that allowed you to say that, yeah, this is the right place for us?
Knowing Buzz's background, he speaks very highly of all of you guys. But just knowing your reputation really was seeing your drive, and also how you guys built the business is just telling on how you really help us to succeed also.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, and that truly is from our original founders, and more specifically to Audrey, who has taken and really blossomed this company. That's, you couldn't speak truer words. Making sure that you are successful and helping you find success in your business is really what we try and do. What we try and position ourselves there. So great. Well, we're glad you're here. That's great. It's a good thing. Just so you know a little bit about our background. So, cool thing, female started operation. Yeah. From the ground up. Awesome. The 2 ladies that started the company, Selby Kaiser and Linda McMorrow, I was fortunate enough to work with them back when I first started in real estate. So when I first started, I was at Prudential, which is where they were at, which is no longer, it's now Berkshire Hathaway. But when I first got into real estate, and I got into real estate because I was being asked to move yet again with the company. I was working in marketing and advertising, and I was being asked to move yet again. And I thought, I can't do it. I just can't move. I just bought a house. We were in the middle of renovating it. I'm not ready to move again. And so I thought, well, what am I going to do? Well, my dad was in real estate, and so I was a real estate kid from an early age, painting walls and washing windows and child labor. It was great. So I thought, well, let me go into real estate for a little while till I figure out what's the next step for me. Well, that was 97, and I'm still in real estate. But when I first got into real estate and into sales, Selby and Linda were also Prudential, obviously doing very well. And so I thought, well, let me interview somebody who's doing well to see kind of where I want to go.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, we probably spent 3 hours at lunch, and we just went to a Chili's, and we sat down, and one of the first things they did was they had an envelope, and they pulled out all of their materials. And what impressed me so much, coming from an advertising background, is that it was all branded. Their materials were branded. So they created and set in play an image for themselves, which was, I thought, this is exactly what needs to be done for most realtors, is you need to have a brand, you need to have an image. And it was the Lion's Head. So they had already started to think back in 97, 98, what was going to be next. So they did start the company, opened it up, had one office over in the San Jose area, like Bay Meadows type of San Jose area. And did that for a couple of years, and we'd actually talked about me coming on board back then, but the market took a shift, and we thought, not good. Always stayed friends, and then of course Audrey stepped in 2013 to really take the company to the next level. Stepped in initially breaking off with Legends East Coast, which was this office, and working kind of two sides of the city, which is great because it allowed us to spread our image, spread, and when you get someone like Audrey who's been in the business 30 some odd years, people know her. There's a reputation obviously that goes there, combined with two very strong women in real estate, Linda and Selby. Great mix. Great mix. And Linda and Selby decided, hey, it's probably we're ready to step back, and that allowed Audrey just to kind of like blow it up, right?
Wow,
So,
that's awesome.
which was really cool when she took over. Bought out the ladies and opened up another office, and allowed us to really to start to build on not only the image but the experience. What was also really cool is that Linda and Selby natural transition to come and stay with the Legends, and they have, and still are, of course. And then they had created a comfort zone for people in our industry who had a lot of experience, but were maybe in that transition period of, I'm really heavy into real estate, business growth to business maintenance and business sustain.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're very fortunate that a lot of those people have maintained and stayed with our company. And if they've chosen to retire or to move past, they've stayed with our referral company, which allows them to push business back into the company. So it becomes the cycle of life. I mean, it really does keep everybody connected, which is so cool because you end up with that experience, you end up with that knowledge, you end up with that opportunity. So, and we're looking at ways, forward thinking again, we're looking at ways for some of those people to say, you know what, I have a business. I kind of want to stick with the business, but I really have I have my book of business that I think could have value to it. And we're looking at ways to try and help them transition their business and take value in that. Because I think what happens with realtors is sometimes you say, oh, I'm a salesperson. I'm just a salesperson. I'm going to go out, I'm going to sell. And unfortunately, if you don't spend time learning about your business, staying abreast of your business, that's all you are or a salesperson. Not that there's anything wrong with being a salesperson, but what we hope is that people will take a vested interest in their business to understand that I am now creating a small business.
Right.
So if we said, go out and sell Waterford, you'd have to get a building, you'd have to buy the product, you'd have to market. So we say, look, we'll give you the structure. You have the ethereal part, you have the somewhat intangible. There's you, but there's what you do and how you differentiate yourself. And so when you do that, you build a business and you build a following and you build a base, there's value to that.
Yeah.
Don't devalue that. Keep your book and then find a way to potentially sell it. So we're looking at ways to try and help our experienced agents who are trying to decide where they are in their business, to give them an opportunity to potentially sell their business. We think that could be a really great fit for some of our newer agents or agents who are trying to expand their business. Maybe they've gotten to a place where they've plateaued a little bit and now want to have that additional push. So there can be a connection there.
Yeah.
So we're seeing how that will play out and look at that. We did start with that one residential office in the San Jose area. Obviously we expanded to 3, but we are also very fiscally and financially concerned and focused.
Mm-hmm.
So when we saw that Arlington office was not transitioning as well as we had hoped and was not growing to the expectation, we said, okay, let's manage that, let's take that, bring those agents closer in, also hoping that maybe not being in the Arlington office there, that they may feel more connected to the other agents because it was a smaller office. And then also to say, if we want to grow, where's our growth going to be? So looking at potentially a brand office, where it's more corporately based, not corporate image, but corporately based for facilitation, or other growth areas. So we've looked at, obviously Orange Park, big growth area, Fleming Island. We've looked obviously west, where historic areas have a unique fit. So we're trying to also be responsible for how we grow, very financially and fiscally responsible for how we grow, which is, I think, important. And as the market shifts, I think it could bring us some new opportunities. So we're really excited about where those opportunities are. And then we're also looking at, well, we're a real estate company, we're a real estate business. What other businesses could we potentially offer to our agents that are going to facilitate their processes, make it easier for them, have those connections that make sense, and people that they trust? Because I think what you're going to find is, if you haven't already, is that there are a lot of people who want a piece of what you do.
Right.
So part of why we have preferred partners, part of why we try and set expectations is because we want you to have the best services available to you and to your customer, of course. So we vet our preferred preferred partners before we bring them in, and then we try and figure out how we can make them a benefit to you too. So we're constantly looking at what other opportunities we may have as a business to facilitate our growth, facilitate your growth. Team effort, partnership. Our growth has been fairly strong. We do have our 2 offices. We have the Beaches office that was originally the Legends East Coast, and now just our Beaches office. We're Legends Beaches. Mm-hmm. And then we have the San Jose office. Have you been over to the San Jose office?
I've not been there, no.
Okay. So your key fits both offices.
Okay.
No problem. Keep it easy, keep it simple, right?
Yeah.
The code that you have here works on that alarm system also. So cohesiveness. You don't have to learn a new code, you don't have to learn new processes. You just have to learn where things are over there versus over here.
Okay.
So we're pleased about that. We've increased our business to about 62%, 21 over 20. Very excited about that.
Yeah.
We feel we've applied again for fastest growing companies, Jacksonville fastest growing companies. We achieved it 3 years ago, and we believe we'll be able to achieve it again this year. Just because it's dynamic growth from our agents, so it's pretty darn cool.
That's
We're very
nice.
excited about
Yeah.
it. We had over 600 closed transactions in 2021. So I think that also says a lot to our growth, 100% growth in our number of transactions. So when you consider what's happening in the market, growth, 11,000 agents, almost 12. A lot of small individual companies. People feel like, a lot of times realtors feel like I can do it on my own, so they go and open up their own 1 or 2 person company. Sometimes the focus is good, you know, I have something to offer, and sometimes I'm concerned about the focus being, well, I'm going to do this because then I get to keep 100% of the commission. Sometimes I get concerned about where the focus is when you have individuals doing this. So we have a lot more onesie, twosie brokerages out there. I guess why I get concerned, let me just explain that. I get concerned about the consumer.
Right.
You know, what the experience becomes with the consumer, what story is told the consumer, and that's where I get concerned is about that. So when you have a company that can actually twofold their number of transactions, I think a lot of the story that we're telling must be connecting with our customers, our agents and our customers. Backtrack a little bit. As the general manager, as the CEO, our customer truly is the agent. We know that your customer is the buyer or the seller. Therefore, if A equals B, B equals C, then A equals C. They're our customer too, but our goal is to facilitate your business and what you do. So, and then when we get to interact with the people that the buyers and sellers that you're working with, we want them to have a good experience too. So that's what gets us concerned sometimes in our market, is how growth is impacting the experience on the other end. Anyway, over 218 million in closed volume, so we feel that that's fairly strong. We had hit about 100 million, dropped down to a little bit over about 94, bumped up to 134 million in 2020, and then almost 218 or 218.5 in 2021. So I think, you know, our growth says a lot about who we are and what we're doing. I think it's kind of a very positive opportunity for us.
Yeah.
Company expansion, we started with just sales. There's real estate sales, it's our focus, it's where we're gonna go. And we found that we can help our agents by expanding. So we brought in, property management. Currently we do a lot of long-term property management. We are expanding into short-term. We've expanded, recently we're doing some beta testing with short-term. So, I mean, you'd have a lot of experience with that.
Yeah.
And a lot of positive feedback for that. Commercial, we expanded to offer commercial. So I know that you know that Buzz is looking at expanding into commercial and is doing some commercial right now. Then of course we have had an opportunity for other agents to do commercial. Very different animal. Very different animal. So if you are looking at commercial, or you want to enhance your business by offering commercial services, please focus on one first, get one down first,
Right.
and then let's talk about how you want to transition. Buzz, with his level of experience and number of years in the business, we're comfortable with that. Because it impacts us too. Everything you do impacts us. So we want to make sure that everybody's okay.
Right, I understand, yes.
Because it's a different animal.
Yeah.
We did expand to have our real estate school. Naturally, the pandemic impacted our real estate school. We had opened it up just before the pandemic.
Oh, wow.
Had a beautiful classroom, ready to rock and roll, a couple of classes, pandemic, people are not coming into classes. And a lot of the school has gone online.
Yeah.
So that's where it is right now. It's currently transitioning to a lot of online, reaching out online to help people do their continuing education, their initial licensing, their post-licensing, that kind of thing. So, and you know, we dovetail very well with NEFAR that has a dynamic program also for education. I don't know if you've looked at their calendars, but man alive, I mean, they do so much and offer so much. And what's so cool is that as a member, free. Most of the classes are free. Very few are charged for. GRI is charged for. Some of the additional designations are charged for, but most everything is free.
That's
Which
awesome.
is
Yeah.
really dynamic and cool.
Yeah.
We have currently over 130 agents. We're actually at 137 agents currently. So we feel like that growth. We went end of 20, we were at 94. So up to 137. That doesn't sound huge, but we are looking for certain types of individuals when we're talking about who's going to join the company. So going from 94 to 137, I think, is pretty good. 7 of our agents are in the top 10% of the NEFAR board. So we have 7 agents who rank in the top 10% of the NEFAR board for production. So that's pretty darn cool.
Yeah.
We feel like it's a sense of accomplishment, not only for the company, but we're thrilled for the agents, even more so. We average about 2.2 million per producing agent per year. I think that's important to know, not only as you evaluate the company, but when you start to set, and we'll go deep into the business planning piece of it, when you start to set some of your goals, understanding what may be realistic and what may be aggressive, what may be less than aggressive, you know, you'll have to set that parameters, or you'll have to set those parameters for yourself. But our goal is to make sure that you're aware of how we can assist you in that. I had an agent when I sold for about 3 years and then went into management, and that's where Audrey and I met. She recruited me to manage for the company that she was working for.
Oh, cool.
And then I stayed with them for 19 years before leaving that and taking a break from real estate for a hot minute, for 2 years.
Really?
Yeah, I took a break from, I shouldn't say that, I took a break to run a tech company that provided information to real estate.
Oh, still in real estate.
I couldn't get away.
Yeah.
Break the chain. Just a brief minute, hot minute, and was enticed to come back in to create a training department for another brokerage. So that brought me back. And when I first moved into management, when I met Audrey, she then became fast and furious friends. So we've known each other 30 some odd years.
Yeah.
Yeah, close to. Anyway, frighteningly. Anyway, but we've always come in and out of each other's lives and stayed connected, which has been wonderful. And a couple of years ago, when we said, why aren't we working together?
Yeah.
And so we're really happy to be.
That's so sweet.
Yeah, at this point, which is
That's awesome.
nice. It's very cool. But as part of that, I think when you're looking at setting goals, I don't want people to set goals based on what everybody else does. I want them to set goals based on what they feel like works for them. So I did have an agent at one point who started, he did really well his first year. I mean, he did about $1 million, $1.5 million. In his second year, he came in and said he wanted to do 12 million. And I thought, aggressive, very. But I would never say no. I mean, why say no? You don't know.
Right.
You just don't know. And he had things laid out. He had a thought process, and I thought, well, why not? I'm not going to say no. But it allowed me, and that's why we do the business plan. That's why we have business meetings. Is it helps us stay in touch with you to say, you wanted to be here. You're kind of here. What's being successful for you? You want to be here, you're over here, what's not working for you? We want you to be happy with your business.
Yeah.
It's the only way you're going to be really successful in it. So helping you decipher what works and what doesn't work becomes key for us. So his second year, he did do a little over 3. So he doubled his business. Did he hit 12? No. It took him another 2 years to hit 12.
But
Still, he
Yeah.
did it. It's really cool to see him do that too. It was really very fun to see him do that. But so we share some of these pieces with you to say this is kind of where things can be, but depending on how you approach it, depending on where you find your niche, depending on what you want to do, it can change. It's constantly moving. It's constantly flowing. So that's part of it. We're averaging over 6 transactions per year per producing agent. You're like, well, wait a minute, that's less than 1 per month. Right, consider the market though.
Right.
That highly impacts. The cool thing is that if you look at 2.2 million and 6 transactions, this means the average sales price is fairly strong.
Yeah.
So do you want to still manage with that average sales price, or are you going to anticipate maybe a reduced sales price based on market shifts? How are you going to lay out your business? So we'll look at it financially, in other words, what I want to make, and we'll look at it production, what's the level I want to achieve in producing volume, and then how does that break out? Listings versus sales versus average sales price, number of transactions. So we'll look at that kind of both ways as part of business planning. And then where am I going to get the business? So those are kind of key three things that we'll look at when it comes to it.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So our mission and our vision, believe it or not, we do have one. We really expect you to have one also. That's not to say don't use these until you figure out where yours are. Mm-hmm. Because it's not always easy to say, oh, here's my mission, here's my vision, here's what it's going to be, and it constantly changes. I mean, that's not to say they can't morph too, which is
right.
good. So our mission really is to enrich lives by fulfilling wants and needs through our real estate expertise, integrity, and dedication to excellence. So that's us as a company, that's our mission. Our vision really is to become the pinnacle of real estate and the trusted source for a unique, successful experience. Every transaction is different. I don't care if you and I have had 17 transactions together. Each one is different for some reason. The house, the location, the pricing, the timing, the repairs. I mean, I'm sure you've experienced that with all the transactions you've done. So it's always interesting to see how the transaction changes. But the ultimate goal is ensuring that there's a positive experience for the person on the other side. It's really kind of what we look at to
right.
say, you know, that's how I keep my business. I mean, the goal is really from here, where I've got a base of business that I'm working with, to here, where it's my base that's giving me my business. That interim piece becomes me generating new business. And that's not to say that you won't always be generating new business, but it's nice to get to the point where your customers are referring you to other customers,
right?
Other people. Yeah, build your business that way. Mm-hmm. It's a nice place to be, and it's an opportunity too. It's a way to set a goal within your business planning. So let the legend begin. Be part of your customer story. That's really what we're looking at. You need to be relatable. You need to be relatable to your customer, to your business. We need to make sure that there's, you know, whether we like it or not, this is a very emotional thing.
Oh, yeah. Yes, it is.
So whether I'm an investor who's looking at a specific return, I'm a buyer who's pissed off because I can't get the house that I want, whether I'm a seller that feels like I should have sold for more, or why can't I get more, or you know, I'm not getting enough, or you know, what are you trying to do? I mean, the experience and the emotion that goes beyond or behind each transaction, we have to acknowledge it. Mm-hmm. We have to let it come out onto the table, and we have to be able to address it. And so you become the camp counselor, you become the therapist, you become...
I went to college for therapy.
That's right.
So I can do this.
This is perfect.
Yeah.
We need to set your mission and your vision based on that. Because people will relate to that.
Yeah.
So keeping them engaged without losing them becomes really key, because it's easy for people to get frustrated.
Yeah.
Whether it's this market or any other market, it's easy for people to get frustrated. So it's nice. Inspiring. It's really great to see your customer get into their home, or your seller to be able to move and to be able to afford what they wanted to afford. So they come to you talking about, the seller comes to you talking about, well, I'm selling my house because I want this for my family. And it's so neat and inspiring. This is why we encourage you to please, no matter who you're working with, try and get a testimonial. If it's a buyer that doesn't end up buying something, get a testimonial. If it's a seller that has a great transaction, get a testimonial. If it's friends or family that are in the process, get a testimonial. There's nothing to say that you can't get testimonials from friends and family that are going to talk about what it would be like to work with you, or why you're going to be the person that they call the minute they know that they're ready to buy a house.
Hmm.
Those are the kind of testimonials that connect with the consumer on the other side. When a consumer is looking for who they want to work with, and they're not already connected to someone, they want someone they can relate to. And the testimonials allow them, in addition to your bios, the testimonials allow them to connect with you. So it becomes really important to have those testimonials. So, and I get a lot of agents who are starting and they say, oh my gosh, I can't get a testimonial. I don't know anybody.
Right.
I haven't sold anything yet. It's okay. Talk to your friends and your family and see if they'll give you a testimonial, because I'm going to tell you right now, those are the kind of testimonials that are going to be huge. Because, oh my gosh, I would love to work with Jessica when I'm ready. She's done a great job at telling me the things I need to do to be ready, and there's nobody I would trust more than Jessica and more to help me if it came time, or when it comes time to buy my house, or when it comes time to sell. So they
And
can
then what would you do with those testimonials once you get them?
Okay, so those testimonials need to go into your bios. They need to go onto your websites. They need to go, Erica is working so that you can have a space on your page on our site to put them until you make a decision on either a website or a web servicer or someplace you want to, until you make that decision on how you want to manage that piece of your business. We will talk about that in business planning, but whether we like it or not, customers expect that we will have a website and that we will have a mobile app. They expect it.
As an individual
As an
agent.
individual realtor, customers expect that you will have a website and a mobile app.
Wow, a mobile.
Yeah. Well, think about it. Everybody wants an answer now.
Yeah.
I want my answer now. And so, because you're in business, I mean, again, if we were at that location where you're selling Waterford and you're talking to someone about a purchase, you may not be able to answer the phone right then. Same thing in real estate. You're working with a buyer or seller, you may not be able to answer that phone right then. Your customer still wants their answer.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the best places for them to get the answer is either your website or a mobile app. Our community, our society is so fluid and mobile that if you give them something, they at least understand how they can still connect to you. So and this is the hardest part, is that a customer doesn't usually verbalize those types of things. So how do we know that? Every year, National Association of Realtors does a buyer-seller survey where you get great information, and it's free. So it's on the NAR website at nar.realtor. Anyway, that's the plug for another resource. So when they are connecting, or when they want to connect with you, they don't know how to tell you, I want these things. Just like they don't know how to, this is what I want in a house and this is what I like about my house. They don't know how to tell you those things. So we have to anticipate and offer things. So where we learn that is, we learn that through this buyer-seller survey, that this is what the consumer wants. We learn that because we know they go online most of the time. We learn that because we know that they go for immediate answers. So the website, and again, they may never use it.
Right.
But knowing you have one becomes so key to them. Like, okay, great, well, then I know I can go here as a resource. And the fact that you give them a mobile app that connects them to you is so much better for you. And this is not, I'm not trying to be derogatory towards others, but if you can give them a mobile app that's connected to you, where you receive information from them and a connection from them when they want to learn something, it's a great resource rather than having them go to the Zillow app or the Realtor.com app, where those two apps are trying to gain their information to sell them back to other realtors.
Mm-hmm.
And their information isn't quite as accurate as maybe someplace that you would be providing information. So they don't know how to tell you that they expect you to have an app and a website. So we have to learn from them and then anticipate and give back. So to your original question, where do you put your testimonials? On your page on our site, on a site that you create within your apps as promotion on your public-facing professional Facebook page, showcasing on Instagram. Maybe you do interviews. If you do an interview with someone, then you post those out there and connect them with as many social sites as possible. So it's energy intensive,
Sure.
but it's really well worth it. The testimonials are huge.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Have you met Liz?
No.
Okay.
Hi.
Liz, Jessica.
Hi, Jessica. Nice
Liz.
to meet
Nice to
you.
meet you.
She and her husband are a team who just joined us.
I think we met one day when you guys were just walking in.
Oh,
Maybe
maybe.
you were getting your pictures done or
Yes.
something.
Yes.
Yeah. Anwar, is that
Yes,
his dad? Yeah,
yeah.
that's right. Okay, cool.
Wow,
Very
look
nice.
at you.
Welcome. I know, really surprised myself.
It's a Monday
just-
too.
I know.
I'm
But I'm
like,
bringing money.
Wee.
Lots of money.
Well, we really like you, but we like you even more today.
I know, because I'm bringing all the Taylors too.
Are you really?
So he had 2
did
closings
he?
last week. So
Cool.
yeah, that's good. So he's,
Excellent.
but you know, it's easier for me because it was at Lisa's office.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, what do moms do? Sure, mom will be the courier.
So Liz's son Taylor is also part of our company
Oh, awesome.
and is also a licensed realtor.
Yep.
They haven't teamed up, but they should do a good job together, backing each
We
other
are
up.
not going to be a team.
And there you have it.
Listen, you back me up, I'll back him up. We will work on things together if the opportunity arises. But that's about it.
From the
He's
source.
good boy. He don't need
I didn't say
Look,
it.
he don't need me because he's got that whole other millennial crowd.
It's true.
And we're, man, he's in a whole other part of town. So, you know, he don't need me.
Well, he does. He does, just not that way.
Not just not that way.
It's good to see you.
Work on this stuff with Teresa. Here we go.
All right. So, inspiring, contagious. Inspiring comes from being able to read your story too. So, you know, the bio becomes really important. We'll talk about the bio when we talk about your business plan. But the bio really shouldn't be any more than 2 to 3 paragraphs. And it's hard. It's really, really hard to get it that short. And each paragraph shouldn't be any more than 2 to 3 sentences. The consumer, just like us when we're doing things, has a short attention span.
Right.
So, you know, your bio is there to help them connect to you. Your testimonials are there to help them connect to you. But it's not one of those things that they're going to take forever to engage with. So it's really, it's got to be short and sweet and concise and to the point. Now, your first 2 or 3 paragraphs, if you can sum it up into that and you want it longer, that's fine, because there are websites that take a lot more. There may be opportunities for you to say a lot more, but the 2 to 3 top paragraphs have got to really connect with the consumer. So that's what we'll look at too. So that's that part of that contagious part. The evocative, it's good, inquisitive. Here's the thing. If you can engage with a buyer or a seller and they start to ask questions, this is totally a business of elimination versus a business of selection. What I mean by that is, if you've got a buyer, even if you've got an investor who wants to buy 6 properties, they have to make a decision property by property. So if they're going to buy this one, they have to have eliminated other ones. The same premise occurs when someone is talking to you about getting into real estate, buying and selling. In other words, is now the right time for me to buy? Is now the right time for me to sell? When you're interviewing to work with them, it becomes a process of elimination versus a process of selection. That being said, if someone is asking you questions about what makes you different, or what you're going to do to help them, or what strategy would you recommend in this market, or what's the inventory like, or any types of those questions, those are the not only inquisitive questions to learn, but they're also the questions that allow them to say, is this the right person for me to work with? Now, you can eliminate a lot of that when it's a know me, like me, trust me as a realtor, and you've already got 3 of those levels completed. But that's not to say that you're not going to be at a cocktail party, an event with your children, a nonprofit function, where you're going to run into somebody that you don't know as well, who may learn that you're in real estate and start to interview you without realizing they're even doing it. So it's how do they get rid of the other 6 realtors that they know and focus on you? And that's part of that inquisitive part. When they're starting to ask the questions, it's just like when you're working with a buyer and the buyer's like, well, you know, this living room wasn't as big as I really thought it should be. Oh, okay, so tell me a little bit about the size of the living room, why it's important to you, helping them eliminate properties versus helping them select 17 and then going, I don't know which one to make an offer on.
Yeah.
You're there to help them kind of weed through all of that. So an inquisitive part is a great sign for you because it tells you that they are truly engaged.
Mm-hmm.
They're not asking questions. They may be a warm customer versus a really hot customer.
Yeah.
So it covers all of those different pieces. So before we get into the business planning part, I did want to give everybody a chance to at least say hi and see if you have any questions. So that's Erica, Jonathan, and Audrey, and hopefully we'll be able to get Rick online. You never know with Rick. Sometimes technology, even though he works really a lot with app files, so sometimes it's a challenge, which is great. So Erica, since you're up there, do you have a couple of minutes? So come on around and help Jessica understand a little bit about your role here and see if she has any questions. I'm going to see if I can play with getting Rick on one.
Okay. Where do I start?
Why don't you start at your company role more so?
Okay. So basically what I do for the company is marketing, get all of the social media out there, work on Canvas, flyers, and I try to just help the agents as much as possible with that, working on their website, trying to work on some blogging, trying to integrate new things into our website, so kind of just working on the background of all of that stuff.
So what's neat for the agent, so part of what we do is to ensure that you have resources available to you, or want to do is to ensure that you have resources available to you. When you get a new listing, one of the first things you want to do is promote it. Now, you're technologically savvy, so you may have ways that you want to promote your listing. Eric can help you in designing a flyer. We have some templates that you can choose from, so she can help you design a flyer that you might want to use. I think we've customized a couple for you for that last open house, or the open house that you did.
It was behind the scenes kind of, but yes, I saw how it turned out.
All right. So, touching base with her for a just listed flyer, or a flyer for an open house, or a flyer just showcasing your property, maybe if there was a reduction in price, something like that. Connecting with her to help her get that piece for you so that it's not something you're spending your time doing, not that her time isn't valuable and your time isn't valuable, but if you're focused on getting the listing and managing the listing, she can help you with that piece of it. So we are internally able to help you with the flyers, and we don't charge anything for the flyers, which is a nice benefit to you. We'll give you 25 flyers, no charge, so that you can use them in your processes, which is great. And she's dynamic with that also, because she can whip them out, and she knows exactly what's going to help you get that awareness. But then there's also, when you're preparing, and we'll talk a little bit about that when we talk about business planning, is when you get a listing, there are certain things you're going to want to do. And you need to be consistent. And this is one of those things that's breaking me down right now, is that agents, good listing agents, are not being consistent with their listings because of the market. So what I mean by that is, and this is cutting into your time, I apologize.
Oh, you're fine.
But what I mean by that is, if I set a standard for my business, and every time I have a listing, I have professional photos taken, and now because the market is moving so fast, I don't want to spend the $150 to have my professional photos taken, I'm setting myself up for failure. And because, in my belief, because if I now start going and taking my iPhone photos, I'm not saying that we can't take good iPhone photos, Not saying that you can't take great photos, and you can't take, I can't. I'm just saying I can't. Okay, so, but if I start going out and taking my iPhone photos and then posting them onto MLS, I'm setting myself up for failure. How? Because now when I get into a competitive situation, when the market shifts, you're gonna go in and say, oh, you're interviewing Clark? Well, these are the kind of photos that Clark uses on his listing. These are the kind of photos I use on my listing. So what's driving me crazy is great realtors are becoming inconsistent in what they do for their listings, when listings are the lifeblood of what we do, and demonstrate to buyers also how you do your business. It's one of those things that I'm like, oh man, please don't, because the market is hot and crazy, please don't stop doing the good things you always do. Right? Just set the standard for what you do. Anyway, sorry. So in addition to that, she can help you, or we can connect you with someone. For example, if you always do brochures, we don't do brochures internally. Why? It's heavier stock. It needs to be printed. So we have templates that we can use, but it goes through a printer, and there is a cost for those. So Erica can help you with those. And sorry, go ahead. You're good.
And any events that you guys might want to have, if you want to do like customer appreciation, or if you don't ever do anything here in the office, we
Here.
have high tops,
I guess we might as well
linens,
scan my
and
stuff too, huh?
centerpieces, really nice, pretty, like mirrored and glass
I don't
centerpieces
need
and
the
stuff like
activity
that. I
form,
can
so what
always
else do
help
I
you get
need?
something set up
Scan
here,
it all to myself.
or
That's
wherever
right.
it is. If you ever need the tent for a
This, then I can finish it up.
you know how they do out there at the pavilion,
here.
it has a
I'll
pop up or
scan that
whatever.
and
So if you ever
scan
need
it.
the tent and the table cover, kind of like y'all did for the open house.
Yeah.
So if you ever need those things, you know, just let me know and I'll.
See my things through.
I just always come to the same order every time.
Perfect.
She's kind of like also our question
And I
or
won't leave
shell
until we get
answer
all
person for
Taylor's, because
promoting.
I
She
can
does
take
a
the
lot of
originals for him.
Canva, so she
And I'll
holds
give it to
Canva
him.
classes. If you're not
I just
familiar with
scanned it
Canva,
to
it's a
you.
great
Okay.
marketing tool.
And then if
It's
you-
got
if
templates that
you
are set
want-
up for not only
If you want to
printed
take that,
materials, but
originals.
also
Yeah.
for social media. So it's a nice place to
Survey,
go.
yep, I'll
It's
do
my
all that.
go-to for everything. Anything that you see that comes from the company on Facebook or you know, internal emails, and they've got, you know, the little picture boxes or whatever of information. I make all
I
of
just
those on
told Bobby about it, and she
Canva.
said, yes, I
So
would
if
know
you ever
all
have
that,
any
so.
interest in that, I do classes, or we can always get together one-on-one. It's a program we've been using for the last 7 years, and it's amazing. And it's free, it's online. We just recently started paying for the pro, just so that we could offer that help to the agents, so it's not everyone have to go in and pay. So we can always dive into that later too, if you need help with
that'd
any
be
of those
very
things.
nice.
Yeah, it's really cool. You can make anything on there,
Really,
literally anything.
very cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Pretty neat. And since she knows Audrey really well, she's been engaged in how the business has developed and grown.
Yes. Yeah,
Anything
so
else you wanna add?
I can try to help you with basically anything. If I don't have the answer, then we can figure it out.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so I'm trying to invite Rick. See if he'll join us.
Oh, on the Zoom.
Yeah. I'm trying. Just trying. Would you see if Jonathan has a few minutes
Yeah,
for
of
Rick's
course.
phone, please? Again, this is just an opportunity to see people face to face. It may not have had an opportunity to meet, but also to understand.
There you
Perfect, thank
Erica
you.
will tell you all the wonderful things she does. I mean, she helps
All right,
us
so you have
with that.
everything.
She is
I
constantly
do. I'm so
putting
excited for
in
him.
and out. She's ensuring that we as a brokerage have a strong presence at our board and Women's Council of Realtors is an opportunity to be able to continue to grow and have an edit and stay aware so that we
First make your first move,
work to
period. And then I'll
to
put
create
on,
a
and
stronger
then
presence.
let's say you.
Waiting for
yes,
Rick to
yeah.
see if he
Yeah.
But I
joins
will,
in.
I will
but
check with Audrey.
Come on over here,
I will
we
check
also
with
have you on
Audrey.
video.
Oh, great.
Get with,
So-
with her and get with him.
Speak loudly because we're gonna add some subtitles to it.
Okay. All right. So some of you were at the meeting before when I went over our property management services. So if you didn't get a copy of our proposal, I can email one out, right?
Yep.
Yep. We'll email one out to you since you're here. I'll go ahead and give you this. So basically, a little bit. We're just doing the rundown, right?
Hey.
Yep. All right. So basically, we offer two main services. One of which is tenant placement. The other, full service management. With those services come marketing the property, screening the tenants, doing all the background check, running all the leases, and collecting the rents, sending out the owner statements for each month. Now with the full service, we do everything that we do the same with tenant placement, except tenant placement, the cutoff will be once the lease is signed, the management will revert back to the owner. And for the full service, we do everything the same, the marketing, and the cost for that is 50% of the first month's rent, and that comes with providing professional photography. We do a move-in inspection of the property. I call it a foundational inspection, so that we have a record of how the property is when we first received it. Also, with the full service management, we do a mid-lease inspection about 6 months out. I go out with an iPad and I do a physical inspection of the property. When a tenant does move out, we also hire that same third-party inspection company to do a move-out inspection, and that's what we compare to the first inspection, so that we know any damages that were done by the tenant. We have proof of how the property was beforehand and when they moved out. So with that 50% of the first month for full service management, you're going to get professional photography, 2 inspections annually a year. And we do everything as far as marketing the property and screening the tenants. So our criteria for screening the tenants is a minimum 600 credit score per person, and 3 times the monthly rent before taxes. And that can be combined if it's a couple, if it's 3 people, all of their incomes are combined. So as long as they meet that 3x before tax threshold, they will meet that criteria. Also, we do run background checks as well as credit checks, so no prior judgments, evictions, or liens in the past 5 years. And then if the tenants were previously renting, we do send out a rental history verification check through our back office system at Folio. We send it to the landlord's email. It's basically a short questionnaire. So if they meet all 4 of those criteria, we move forward with them and have them bring in their security deposit and lease prep fee. So all of that goes into securing a tenant and screening them. Like I said, tenant placement will do everything up until when the lease is signed, and then the management will revert back to the owner. And that is, we have a different lease for tenant placement that basically explains that management reverting back, and then obviously the full service management will be running the day-to-day operations. The expense for tenant placement is going to be the first month's rent, and then they'll direct pay to the owners after that. And then just to recap, the full service management, it's 50% of the first month's rent, and then 10% a month thereafter.
Cool.
I think I've covered about everything.
And what are your prospects on the short-term leasing? How are you?
So short term, we do 15% of the first month. So yeah, that's been something where we've not had the most traction on, but we have done a few in the past. But we are working to build that portfolio.
Cool. Great. Thank you.
And I'll get that sheet over to Clark to get it mailed out to everyone. So you have the proposal list. It's really good to know all these bullet points, or at least to just have it handy in case you have an investor that's asking you questions or looking to go with a property management company. But you can always give them my number, my email, and I can reach out and talk to them as well.
Cool. Questions on property management, or I mean, I know that you do a lot of your own property management for your own properties, but anything that you want to learn about or have questions on
Everything
us?
sounds great, really. I like how everything's very structured, more so than I have been, but I like that.
And we're also very transparent with all of the owners I work for. I have a fee schedule, which is another sheet that I can send out where it just shows all the fees straight up. We're not trying to hide anything from anyone. So our owners do appreciate that we're very straightforward with them, because some companies get your owner statement back and you're wondering why there's fees that you didn't know about taken out. So we like to be as transparent as possible.
Great. Well, thank you, sir.
Absolutely. If you have
Appreciate
any
it.
questions,
Thank you
just
so
let me
much.
know.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll make sure. So, I mean, and with, again, and I know Rick is, can you hear me, Rick? Why can't I hear you? There we go. Can you hear me? How come we can't hear you? Microphone, speaker, sound system. Can you hear us?
Unmute your speaker or increase volume to hear other participants.
Unmute. Am I muted?
Should be-
Do you need the remote?
Do I need the remote?
Yes.
No, I'm just trying to figure out why I can't. Oh, I'm seeing. You're saying do this. Should we try that? Can we hear you, Rick?
I can hear you too.
Oh, yay! We can hear you. All right, yay! It's the simple things that I forget about, like that. The what?
You muted me.
I did. I'm sorry. Anyway, so we did want you to get face to face with Rick. Or I'm sorry, I can turn on the camera, but that's going to be me. So let me share with you, Jessica.
Hello, how are you?
There we go.
Welcome again to Lincoln.
Thank you so much.
A little bit of a. I'm not sure if it's on your end or our end. We're having a little bit of a lag there. We got the well part, so we figured it was welcome. So we're good. So we were just hoping that maybe you'd have a couple minutes just to share a little bit about what your role is with our company.
Have you heard the expression, "the dog to a bone"?
Yes.
That is how our illustrious leader described me when she asked me to do this. My goal is to kind of look over this stuff, and if I see boo-boos or things that are missing, bring it to your attention. The whole idea is an extra set of eyes, trying to keep folks out of trouble. And by you staying out of trouble, I stay out of trouble with kindness, which is always a good thing. I'm pretty easy to work with if you get stuck on something, which you will. You can always holler at me. I know we've been trying to connect. I got some appointments this week, doctor appointment, but I want to get together with you, and I believe your spouse will do it, and help bring me up to speed on it. It's not tough, it just takes a lot of practice. I've been in real estate a long time, 34, 35 years, something like that now. I first worked with Audrey in the early 90s for Dental, which became Berkshire or something like that. I'm not as polished as you will find out if you meet me as Clark and Audrey. I'm not as polished, but I do know a little something, something. And I try to be there for folks when they need stuff. Audrey seems to make it part of her spiel telling everybody I go to Bennett or because I do. But I also get up with the curtain card, so there is that. If I'm helping you, I'm not going to just suddenly say it's my bedtime. I'm going to finish where I started. And I want you to feel free to call me. And if you've got questions and you ask me something, if I don't know something, I'm not going to fake it. I'm going to stick you on to Clark or Audrey, because if I don't know something, you're never going to be able to say, Rick, you told me that, and blame me. You're never going to play that.
Okay.
If I know something, I'm going to flat tell you. But I'll never fake it to you. I'll never lie to you or mislead you. And all I ask is the same. I don't ever be lied to you. You can make a lot of money in this business. So my whole goal is to keep you out of trouble.
Thank you.
I look forward to meeting you in person. I kind of saw who he was, so they introduced you, but there were quite a few people in there that day, so it wasn't ideal meeting time. But I look forward to you coming over here, and it's best when you do these classes with limited people, because then you get a lot of people, there's always somebody that monopolizes, and then nobody learns anything. So you let me know, or you let me know what schedule y'all want for it. Just give me a little bit of notice. I got great coffee, and
It's true.
I get a vicarious thrill out of making other people get fat and brownies and all that stuff here. My app files is basically our record keeping stuff. Where you're listing, selling, we've got a rental portfolio of some sort. Rental, we keep all that stuff in there.
Hi, Tyler.
You got any questions?
Um,
You got any questions?
no, not really. I'm excited to work with you. So looking forward to that. But I don't think I have any questions right now. Thank you.
Did you get your login for app files?
Yes,
I said
yes,
that.
I'm all set up with that. Yes.
Okay, great. I think Rick would probably encourage it also, is once you had a chance to meet with him, please practice in app files. I mean, you can't.
Okay, oh yeah, like he said, practice, and this is something I'm gonna tell you when you're here too. When I say practice, then I'm gonna look at you and say, and realize this, I can tell if you haven't, because I can look at your file and see that you have or haven't.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, you can put it in, you know, say, trash file or that, but I can still see it, because I'm the one that takes out the trash. So, but
I think
like
I'm
Clark
sure.
said, it's like everything else in real estate. Practice, you get pretty good at it. Then there's less phone calls from Clark Community.
Yes.
And, you know, less, I do things called TAF, is what it's called, when something's missing or there's a mistake. Then there's a lot less of that from me.
So I think Rick is a little modest in what he does because he is our regional assistant manager. So he has a breadth and knowledge of our industry, which is fantastic, and he's a dynamic resource for that.
Thank you.
And while he is our quality assurance person, so making sure that what's in your files is supposed to be in your files to keep us in line so that when we get audited, and it's not if, it's when we get audited, they come around and they check on us. That your license stays intact, my license stays intact, Audrey's license stays intact, Rick's license, that we're all here to help you.
Yes.
So he's a little modest on that, but he does send you tasks. Don't get overwhelmed by him. And again, the best way for app files, because it is technology, is to practice. You can't break it. If you break it, then it needed to be fixed anyway. So practice in there. Practice writing offers, practice writing listing agreements. It keeps you familiar with, and potentially opens up the line for questions on how processes work. So he's a great resource for all of that, and a great resource to bounce things off of too.
That's great. We'll be practicing very soon with our own house. We're looking in the market. As soon as something comes for us, we're going to be making an offer. I don't know how yet, but
Sure.
I will be practicing it myself first. Like this week, next week, we're not sure when. But
Cool. Well, this Wednesday will really begin the essence of that then,
Perfect.
helping you get that.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Rick, you good?
And I'm good, look forward to seeing you first.
Yes.
Thank
too,
you for taking the time, Rick. Appreciate it.
Have a blessed day.
Thank you. You too.
You too.
Bye, y'all. Have a good day.
Thanks. You too.
Take care, Liz. So, Audrey has to run, but she's gonna come and interrupt later after she finishes her call.
Okay.
She had a call that she needed to get on to. So we're gonna break out into. Well, first, do you need a break? Would you like some coffee, some water, the restroom?
No, I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So the next piece that we really wanted to break into. Let's see if we can manage this or jump back into this. All right. Cool. Stay. Excellent. So let's do that. Really, we wanted to jump into business planning. So, it's one of those things that we really feel differentiates us is we ask you to do a business plan. Can I force you to do a business plan? I can't force you to do a business plan. The only thing I can do is help you understand why it's important and really kind of begin to say it really sets a foundation for all the different pieces and how you build your business. Sometimes a business plan is just, I'd like to make this amount of money. Great. Sometimes a business plan is, I'd like to do this amount of production. Fantastic. If I can get you to the point where you're laying things out, it helps me help you. It also adds that level of accountability so that we can kind of focus on what's really important for you and what you want to accomplish. Not just in, oh, I'm going to have a sale or I'm not going to have a sale. You know, the tough thing is that this market, or the markets that we influx in and out of, help some people to feel like, well, it's really easy, and other people feel like it's really very difficult, depending on when they get in the market. Some people getting into the market right now feel like it's very difficult. Why? Because they're working with buyers and the buyers can't find what they want,
Right.
or they make offers and they can't get what they want. Sellers right now are fairly easy when they put their house on the market.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of that.
Right. Yeah.
So sometimes it's the unrealistic expectations that might come from that. So this booklet is our business planning booklet. So I think we've got one for, did I give you one? There's one for you.
I think,
believe
yeah.
one for Anwar. But this is our business planning booklet. So just as an overview, what I will tell you is the back section of it, you'll see it says advanced business planning. This is usually for someone who's been in the business for probably a year or two. And the reason I put it with every single packet is, because I want you to start to see the types of things that we want to look at as your business develops,
Yeah.
so that you'll start tracking them now.
Mm-hmm.
The other pieces that are in here, it's all base information. We're going to touch on a few different pieces. I'm not going to ask you, please fill this out now. But I'm going to expect that either you or you and Anwar, because you're working as a team, you're going to have to set your goals together as a team. Not a bad thing. It's just that you guys have to be on the same page,
Right.
which is sometimes the challenge, making sure everybody's on the same page. So it's a good thing and a challenging thing. So let's just talk about a little bit about business planning, where it lays. We're going to talk, one, about business planning, just an overview of it. Have you done a business plan before for any type of business? Or-
No, honestly, I just kind of take it one step at a time and hope to do my best. So I'm looking forward to do this.
There's nothing wrong with that. If you want to, as you continue to maneuver your investment business,
Mm-hmm.
you may want to apply some of these practices to that.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. You'll have to see. But it's great that you even look at it that way. That look, I kind of jump into it, I learn everything I can, I manage it as best I can to the best of my abilities.
Yeah.
And this is where I think someone like Jonathan also, you guys may just want to hang out for a lunch or a coffee or something to get an idea exchange.
Mm-hmm.
For your own personal business, I don't think it's a bad thing to develop or to take classes that are being offered through NEFAR on property management. But I will tell you, at our company, we do not encourage you, other than your own personal properties, to jump into property management and residential sales. The business is well, first, business has high liability no matter what side you're on. With property management, liability kind of jumps up a little bit. So you have to really stay engaged with it. Now, for your own personal business, or for your own personal rentals, you can set some standards to it because it's your personally owned. You aren't as the guidelines aren't as strict or as stringent on you. It becomes very different when you have property management and you're managing property for another individual. Completely different.
Right.
Jonathan is excellent at what he does. He has all the hard conversations that sometimes you don't want to have.
Yes.
And he's really good at them,
good.
which is nice. But it's one of those things that we ask our agents. Look, if you have a customer that says now is not the right time for me to sell, I want to rent it out, talk to Jonathan.
Mm-hmm.
Our policy is it will always come back to you. As long as you're still with the company, if you refer somebody over to Jonathan and they now say, I'm ready to sell, it goes immediately back to you. He does not keep it as a sale for himself. It goes immediately back to you.
Okay.
So no problems there. We're not trying to take business from you. We're trying to protect you
Sure.
in your business. So the liability is rather extensive. So we'll talk about what business planning is. We'll talk about the pieces of it. The executive summary sounds kind of wonky, but executive summary is something that you have to be able to provide or put into your business model. We'll talk about the brand. What kind of a brand do you want to look at? How's that all play out? We'll talk about business analysis and research. You have got to know this market. Got to know this market. It sets you apart from other realtors who aren't taking time to understand what's going on in the market. It positions you as a stronger realtor and professional. It allows you to open your avenues for business development, because as a professional, when you then have the information, people want that information and invite you into environments you may not customarily get invited to. So we'll talk about business resources. Well, we want you to get to the point where you have that referral business. We want to make sure that you know that there's always an opportunity for you to expand your business base, whether it's demographically or psychographically or whatever it happens to be. So we'll talk about those different resources. We'll talk about goal setting. Oh, everyone hates setting goals. I know, I get it. I hate setting goals. But we got to have some place to go. We got to have some place to look and say, where do you want to go with this? I want to do $3 million. Okay, great. Forever? Okay, great. Well then, now we've got a maintenance or sustainability issue. Hi, Miss Hazel.
I didn't mean to walk past you.
I was going to
All
say. Hope you had a good weekend. Have you met Jessica?
I don't think so. Hi, how are you?
Jessica, Hazel, Jessica. Hazel, our #1 top producer for 2021.
Congratulations.
Clark, my #1 person.
I'm so lucky.
No,
Good
we
seeing
are.
you. Good color.
We are.
You have great color.
I had a little bit of sun, biking and pool, and
Good.
did you get out this weekend?
A little bit, yeah.
It was just a nice little breeze, kind of overcast. That's probably why I got so much. But anyway,
There you go.
nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you also.
So we don't like to set goals. We have to have something for accountability. We have to have some way to generate where we want to be. And if it's, I want to get to 3 million, I want to stay there, great. Then that's sustainability. I want to go from 3 to 6. Well, that's growth. I'm ready to pull back a little bit from 4 to 2. Great. That's kind of a retraction. How are we going to manage that? What are we going to do? What will make you happy in your business? It's really kind of what we're looking at here. And nobody likes to put it on paper, but it really does help.
Yeah.
It really does help. Marketing. When I first started in the business, there was so much print marketing, newspapers, magazines, and not that those aren't still valid, but we have to acknowledge that we've gone social, we've gone digital.
Yeah.
So there's great opportunities because it's much more cost efficient.
Yeah.
And I know that it gets expensive in this business. I get it. But we've got to be willing to invest in our business. We have to.
Mm-hmm.
We have to. And the social environment has allowed us to do it for much less or more cost effectively.
Mm-hmm.
So there are different resources like HomeSnap. So HomeSnap is a resource that's available to you for
I
free.
downloaded it, yeah.
Okay, great. It connects with Google, it connects with Facebook, it connects with Instagram, it connects with Waze. So what I love about it is when I get a listing or when I get a sale, I can push that through to those different platforms, and my investment is based on how much visual connection I want to make. So if I want to have this huge number of views over a period of time, and I move my little toggle to see, oh, here's 20,000 views, and it's going to cost me $50. Is that the right thing to do? And it could be the right thing to do, but what am I doing in addition to? So if I'm going to do that, what else am I doing to support that?
Mm-hmm.
Or where else am I giving that message, sending that message out? So one of the things that we'll also talk about is contact management programs. If you don't currently have a contact management program, do you
I
have
don't
one?
think so.
They often referred to as CRMs, customer relationship management program. There are things like Top Producer, Wise Agents, Lions Desk. Anyway, there's a bunch of them. We have a class on CRMs. We'll talk about them. We'll talk about them a little bit today too, about business planning. But we'll also talk about buyer connections, or your buyer consult and your seller consult. But there's got to be a place, a receptacle to hold your information. I know this is great, but I know, like, at my age, I'm forgetting things. So I know that sometimes having that memory isn't always the key.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So being able to create those drip campaigns or those reminders, you have to have a resource to do that. I have a lot of people asking me about Numbers or Excel, which are spreadsheet programs. Are you familiar with either one?
Excel, yeah.
Okay. So Excel, great program. But I mean, when you get out to column AABBC, you know, how do you get that information in your visual acuity field? You know, how do you get that relevance to you more quickly than having to go all the way out there, or do a search for, or how are you creating your searches when you have a platform that can put all that information into it? It kind of helps remind you of things. So, but marketing is key. How you market, what you market. That's why setting your brand is so important.
Yeah.
I went to a bar mitzvah over the weekend up in DC, and it was so, one, it was fun. It was great to see everybody. Two, the young gentleman who was the bar mitzvah had a logo created, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is so cool. At 13, he's creating a logo. Now, is it going to change? Yeah, it'll probably change. But for him, the logo was so appropriate. I thought, he's creating his own brand, he's creating his own image, and it's great. At school today, I can't imagine all the kids who were there will have his T-shirt on with his name and his logo on the back. And I thought, it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
We just have to take the time to kind of connect with someone. Highly recommend, if you're trying to figure out what your brand or image is going to look like, use Fiverr. Have you used Fiverr for anything? So Fiverr is actually started because people into design, people into different assistance with writing, that kind of thing. We're trying to figure out how to make a couple extra bucks. So this website was created called Fiverr.com, and you can go onto Fiverr.com and see who you connect with, and then they used to charge you $5 to review your written material or help create a design. It's gone beyond that. It's not just $5 anymore, but it is extremely reasonable, and you can find local people, or you can find people nationally or internationally that you look at their work and you connect with their work, and then you might send them some information. I've done it with a variety of different pieces, creating some of the bases for this program, some of the titles for this program, and you just talk to them and say, hey, this is what I'm looking for. I'd like to have help with my bio. And they say, okay, great. Well, how much information do you have? Well, I have this, I have this, I have this. Okay, great. So for $50, I'll write your bio for you, and you get 3 iterations or 3 reviews of it. And so okay, great. So you contract with them for that. But it's very reasonable when you consider going to a media company to try and find something. But a lot of these people are design individuals who then are on the side, doing side work.
I want to write that down. Do you have a pen?
Yeah. And it's, let me just check, because the spelling is not like Fiver.
Oh, okay.
Fiverr. And there is an app for it also. So think about that. You could create a brand for your short-term rentals. You could create a brand for your real estate. You could create one that kind of works for both. but it's nice to have those bounce off ideas. You may be very creative, beyond stick figures. Good luck, but with me. But so if you have that capability, great. But I don't.
Right.
So I go to all the different resources I can find.
Yes.
We'll talk about business planning also from the aspect of when you're ready, how do you grow your business? So we've touched on property management, but how is that a business growth? Well, property management, if I have someone that wants to sell, but now is not the right time, I keep them as a customer by moving them into property management. I get my initial referral, which comes through to me at 100%. We don't take a split on that. So it comes to you at 100%. And then when they're ready to sell, but you maintain that relationship along the way. So it's great because you become the source or the resource, the source for the source. No, the resource for the source, or the source of the resources. I don't know. Anyway, something. You become something for someone else.
Yes.
You share information with them, which is great. So those are a little bit about what we're going to be talking about. Your business focus. Here's the deal. With business focus, you've got to have some blind faith in this. You made this transition. You've got to have some blind faith in this, in your abilities too. So don't worry. It's okay. There's an element of that goes with this. Please learn from your past failures. Failures are not bad things. There are ways to progress. There are ways to eliminate options. Lean on that positive support group. We hope you'll find it here. We hope you'll find it in some of our agents. As you get to know people, you already know Buzz pretty well. I would say talk to a couple of other agents. Go for coffee.
Yeah.
See people that you think they've done well on whatever level.
Mm-hmm.
Go for coffee. Get to know them. Start here, and then as you network, you'll find others that will have different perspectives, different insights. Go for coffee. Networking is fabulous because when you have that transaction, it's much better when you know the person
Yeah.
on the other side.
Yeah.
So think about that as an opportunity for yourself. Set small, achievable goals. That's why we do the business planning. We break down your financial element into pieces. We break down your production into pieces. Celebrate. Celebrate when you have that listing. Celebrate when you have that sale. Celebrate when the photos are done. Celebrate when you have your first showings. It's you got to celebrate along the way. Celebrate those small victories. Having doubts is normal. Share and share alike. Watch the stories in your head. I don't know about you, but I could write a novel in about 3 minutes in my head.
Yes.
Where things are going to go.
Right. Oh yes. Absolutely.
It'll have 17 different endings. Oftentimes more not so good as good. So it's one of those stories in your head where you need to get them out. We need to get them out. You're going to be very fortunate to have someone to work with who knows you well, but you need to get those stories out to other people too, just to know that you're not alone.
Yeah.
It's not uncommon. Apply what you learn. Please come to as many of the classes as you want, as many times as you want. We require you initially to go through every single one of these. After that, if you're feeling lost, if you're feeling confused, if you're feeling like you didn't get it the first time around, come and chat. Usually there's more than just 2 of us, and you can see from the sales meetings that there's usually more than 2 of us. But even the side classes that we do, there's usually at least 10 people, maybe 5 people, but you can hear how different people's experience has impacted or influenced them. You set the path. We're here to support you in that. So we're here to help you find what the pieces are, the steps along that. Watch the negative Nellies. Not only the negative Nellies that sometimes show their faces in your support group.
So what are y'all learning today?
We're talking about business planning.
Good. Business focus.
So what we've
Have you
tried
done
to
real
get.
estate before? Are you new at this? Or?
As selling, yes, but we do rentals, short-term rentals,
Oh,
investing.
you got some knowledge.
Yeah.
She'll be good.
She'll be great.
But this guy, if you have any questions, he's got all the answers.
I've got some of the answers. Good to
You got
see you.
lipstick all over you, but that's okay.
I'm leaving it there. Are you kidding me? The negative Nellies, sometimes, and I encourage you guys to come into the office. When you have something you want to work on, bring it into the office. I know it's hard sometimes with kids. I know it's hard sometimes with everything else we have going on. But if you can block out even a couple of hours, at least 3 times a week, to come and hang out in here, will there be a ton of people? Probably not. But if you're doing something in here, one, I mean, we're right here too, so the answer can come fairly quickly if you have a question, if you need some assistance. 2, the amount of traffic that we get in and out of our offices is pretty intense. Whether it's short-term or long-term, and there's an opportunity for you to hear what other people are experiencing. 1, so you know you're not alone, but 2, also so you can set processes for how you might want to, or shift processes that you've established. So, but in the office, just like that, there can be some negative. Oh my gosh, we've written the 17th offer for these buyers, and it's not working. So being able to try and overcome some of those negative pieces. And those negative Nellies also come from what you read. What you read and what you hear on TV. I mean, it's easy to attack real estate.
Right.
It's very easy to attack real estate. So be prepared to, this is why we say stay engaged with your business, because you have to be the one prepared to counter that.
Right.
Not aggressively sometimes, or sometimes aggressively, whatever
Whatever works.
Whatever works. Right. Check in with your environment. This means you gotta take time. How old are your children again?
I have a 10, 8, and 6-year-old. Homeschooling.
Oh my goodness, yes, that's a lot. Anyway, our niece is turning 19 at the end of this month.
Oh wow.
She just finished her first year at U of SC.
Wow.
And yeah.
Yes.
Still, I still look at her sometimes as a 10-year-old.
I know.
I didn't like her much when she was 10. I gotta be honest with you. Didn't like her much when she was 10. When she was 13, which I thought was strange, I liked her again. She became likable again.
That is tough.
Yeah. Anyway, and I wasn't married, so
Right.
I was just a sidebar. So, anyway, check in with your environment. You gotta step away from this. This can easily eat you up 24/7. Easily eat you up 24/7. Don't be a pessimist or a skeptic. Easy to do. We talk about these things because we want you to know this is not uncommon in our industry, whether you're starting your business, whether you've been in the business a while, or you've been in the business a long time. These things fly in and fly out. So if we can bring them to the surface now, so that we're not afraid to talk about them, or that we don't want to talk about them, we feel like we can at least put them out there and say, look, it's okay. Don't worry. Let us help you, encourage you to take that time off. If you've got a way for you and Anwar to take a break and someone to help you with the kids, then take it. I mean, really take it. Audrey has her grandson in this morning.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He spent the night with her last night, and now it's become a joke. It's Erica's son. And Erica said, watch this, because she got a call from Audrey. And Audrey said, oh, Tyler says he's not feeling well, so I'm not taking him into school this morning. And Erica said, Tyler said one of his favorite games is to play hooky with Gigi.
They learn quick.
So anyway, it's pretty funny. So we're good. We know that sometimes the breaks have to come, and sometimes they come with you here, and sometimes you have to go to them. It's okay. There are no magic answers. This is a business where you have to constantly keep learning about your business. You've got to stay engaged with your business. And there's so many resources. MLS is a fantastic resource to be able to do that. And we'll talk about making sure that you understand how to do subscriptions before you leave here.
Okay.
Other things to think about on that business focus, we have to learn to be successful. You've obviously done a great job with the short-term rentals on that. But let us help you learn the ins and outs of buying and selling as it comes to working with other people. You know how you like it. That can apply to some of your customers, but let's also expand that. It all takes time.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. This just, never mind. Forgive me.
Yeah.
I throw this one in there because I think a lot of times we forget you have started a business. It doesn't look the same as if you went out and got a location and a this and that and the other, but you started a business. So we want it to be successful for you. Hold yourself accountable. We're going to try. We've expanded into doing some coaching. kind of beta testing coaching, which has been a lot of fun for me.
Yeah.
And I feel good about where the agents are, what the agents are experiencing with it too. So hold yourself accountable, and you'll work nice and well together to be able to hold each other accountable, but look to someone else too.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to alter your expectations. Keep your ego in check. Oh my gosh. If you haven't already, you're going to run into realtors who think very highly of themselves. And sometimes it's hard to help them keep their ego in check. The best way for you to do that is keep your own ego in check.
Yeah.
Be tenacious. It's a business of no's, and that's okay. So we can manage that. Keep your emotions in check too. It's not always easy. You know, you're in the middle of this transaction and it gets heated and you don't want it to impact there. Let the steam off someplace else.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whether it's workout or whatever, you got to get it out.
Right.
Don't let it fester. You get out of this business what you invest. Invest time, energy, money. Those are the three things you can manage. Time, energy, and money. Watch how much energy you put in, because it can drain you. Watch how much money you put in.
Right.
Watch how much time you put in. There has to be that balance.
Right.
It's just build your skills. You know, I know that, and I was guilty of this my first year in real estate. You know, I did my post licensing, and then, oh my gosh, you know, 14 hours of continuing education. All I want to do is list and sell. I was stupid. Don't worry about 14 hours. Get as many CE credits as you can. Learn as much as you can. At home with diversity is huge, especially right now in our industry, in our markets. Understanding how that impacts our markets is key. The Gold Key designation, huge, dynamic, important. Refreshers, reminders, really just build your skills. Join us at whatever we have. Defeat complacency, just put it aside, you know, and know it's easy. That's not to say don't allow yourself a binge watch night or something like that.
Right.
Not every night. Don't live in the past. You know, it's done. You know, that transaction didn't happen. It's done.
Yeah.
We need to move on. That listing we didn't get. Learn why you didn't get it. Move on. Excuse me. Better keep going. Develop strong policies. You know, we sent out the policy manual a week and a half ago. Use that to launch some of your own policies. Like, one example that I do give people is, we want you to be safe. Really important. If you choose to get copies of driver's license or take photos of driver's license with your phone,
Okay.
so here's the thing. So if we've never met, and you call me and say, I see you have a listing, you know, at 2085 Oak Street, I'd really like to see it. And I say, absolutely. How did you find it? What interests you about it? So we start to talk. And I say, great, let me meet you there tomorrow at 2. And if I say to you before I meet you, so, and since we haven't met, I'd like you to go ahead and can you please just screenshot your license and send it to me via text? Here's my number, whatever. If I do that with you, I have to do that with everyone.
Right.
So whatever policies you choose for safety, for practice, you have to make sure you do it for everyone. So if I do that for you because I haven't met you face to face before, Erica, who I've known for 30 years or 20 years, I need to do that for her too.
Oh, okay.
So, for example, and I'll talk about my sister a lot. I love my sister, but she's a bitch. And I'll repeat that. The sad thing is her name is Karen. So, but when we listed her house, and you know, and I came dressed like I would be for anyone, she's like, "What are you doing?" When I asked her to tour her home, why are you? I said, because I have to do this as a realtor, not as your brother anymore.
Right.
She's like, well, wait. And when I asked her, I said, you know, I need to get a copy of your driver's license. She's like, what are you, crazy? I'm like, no, I have to get a copy of your driver. So getting it from her, I have to get it from her, since I'm older, been her a long time, versus someone I don't know. You have to be consistent. So if you find that there are gaps in the policies that we've provided you that help you be stronger in your business, please apply those to every person you meet. don't establish a policy or a procedure that you can't make consistent in your business. So it has to be consistent. You want to make sure of that. So develop your policies and procedures. I think it's important just to kind of establish that. So the business plan. What is business planning? Really, this is just putting things on paper is really what it is. It's formal. Yes, it's formal because we write it down. Does it have to be on these sheets of paper? No. Can it be on a napkin? Yes, just don't lose the napkin.
Yeah.
just figure out how you want it. It's got to contain a little bit of background too. So your business plan has to be something that you can relate to, and that if you were to share it with someone, which we would encourage you to do, they've got to see you in it. They've got to know that this is really what you're doing, and that you have a vested interest for their benefit as well as the growth of your business or you have an established means. And that's why it is hard sometimes for realtors is they don't take the time to write things down. It's fly by the seat of the pants.
Right.
I can do this. It's open a door and close on a house. Okay.
Yeah.
When we talk about the goals in your business plan, you need to communicate your purpose and your vision. Your goals will lay out the process for goals for you. Your goals need to be objective. You need to kind of have some objectivity to your goals. Your goals need to establish, again, a marketing tactic that's going to go with it. So you have a process for these. And your goals need to be short-term and long-term. Usually in business planning, you're looking at 1 year, 3 year, 5 year. I'm just happy if I can get you to look at one, like 3 months and a year, and maybe 3. I'm pushing 3 with realtors and sales.
Oh, really?
But if I can get you to look at least what's going to happen in the next quarter to a year, and then 3 years, that's really where I'd love to see you looking. Is how would I like this to look in a few years, or what would I like this to bring me in a few years? What we find is that if you're focused on the dollar, your business doesn't usually grow as successfully. If you're focused on the experience, your business usually grows a little faster. So it's that coming from a place of abundance versus a place of scarcity type of view. A book that we do recommend, or that we're actually thinking about doing a book club on, is Ninja Selling. Have you heard of Ninja Selling? Ninja Selling and The Go-Giver are 2 really good books. A third one would be Good to Great. That's also a good book to work with. So The Go-Giver, Ninja Selling, and Good to Great. 3 strong books. So your short-term goals are important. And what we do want to also encourage you is you need to incorporate your personal goals too. So this is the business, but it's got to impact your personal also. So you're already identifying. You guys are looking. There was a bunch of stuff that came up over the past 2 weeks in Avondale. Did you?
Yeah, we're actually looking in Plencia or not.
Oh, plenty. Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry. I thought you
for
were.
personal. Yeah, we have.
Yeah.
That's where we like to invest is there for sure.
Yeah.
But we just have things in St. Augustine that
Yeah.
we consider.
Good.
Yeah.
Great. So that becomes important, incorporating your personal goals. As we move forward, let's talk a little bit about the elements of the business plan. There's your executive summary. This is really kind of talking about who you are. It summarizes your business. It includes your mission and your vision statements is what we're going to look at there. We want to do your business analysis. This is your primary resource for this is MLS. Understanding shifts in market. Understanding seasonality, understanding percentage increases, time on the market, and then you want to look at trends. So RIS Media, RIS Media, is a great resource for real estate trends. Florida Realtor Magazine, fantastic resource. Inman News, INMAN, Inman News is another great resource. The newsletters, multiple daily newsletters from RIS Media are free, and there's no limitation on content. Inman News, the newsletters are free, but the content is curtailed unless you have a subscription. and then Florida Realtor Magazine you get as a Florida Realtor anyway. So great resources, but you have to understand not only the numbers, but you got to understand the trends.
Right.
Really important, and it's consistent from DC, from NAR when we met there at the beginning of the month. May? We're still in May? Okay, good. So when we met there at the beginning of the month, they were talking about trends and the shift in the market, and now we're seeing a lot of local markets talk about that shift. Now, beaches, not so much.
Yeah.
Historic, not so much.
Right.
But West Side, yes. North Jacks, yes. Interesting. High end, it's a little bit slow. So interesting to see. And you can see those trends from days on the market,
Right.
list of sales price per day. We want to set your goals. We want to have some goals. I'd like to see at least 3 goals. More is great. Don't want to get too many, because then that dilutes what you're actually doing.
Right.
So, and we'll talk about marketing. So how do we anticipate marketing so that we can achieve our goals? And then we'll talk about evaluation. The evaluation part is what worked, what didn't work, what do we need to shift, and what are we shifting. So we'll look at that. Those are the pieces of actually working with it. So when we talk about your executive summary, let's flip over to this booklet here. The executive summary. Does yours have page numbers?
No.
Yeah. I thought I had done that. All right, so this page. I think it's the 3rd page now. When we're talking about your executive summary, this is really what we're talking about. So this defines what your executive summary is. So we're really looking here about a little bit about you. So this includes your bio. This includes what things you think make you different, what makes your team different, what some of your goals are. This is getting that all on paper to either create the bio or to create your mission and vision in bio is really what we're trying to look at here. So we'll talk about that business analysis. We'll kind of do an overview on that. Where we start with your executive summary is this lovely little page here, this lovely little graph that just everyone just so enjoys doing.
Yes.
So what I'm going to ask is, even though you're on a team, I'm going to ask that you do this individually, please. I hate some of these terms. I hate the term weakness and I hate the term threat. However, when I found the questions that I was able to associate with that, I feel a little bit better about them.
Yeah.
So it's not, weakness could also be distractors, if you will. Threats are definitely distractors. Homeschooling 3 children
Yes.
is a distractor, so we need to figure out how we manage that, right? So the strengths, what do you feel like you really do well? Where do you feel like some of your strengths are? Is it in the analysis? Is it, I'm a numbers nerd, so I love to see the trends and things like that. What unique resources can you draw on? So what resources do you have that you're able to bring to your business that allows your business to grow? What do others see as your strengths? So any of these pieces are great to ask people that know you well. Probably not your spouse, because that's also your team member, but maybe a good friend that you've known for a few years, a family member that knows you well. These are great people to ask these questions to. They will be brutally honest with you.
Yes.
If you won't be with yourself, they will be. So weaknesses, these are just things, what can I improve on? I mean, I will say that one of the things that I see consistently that realtors need to improve on is paperwork. We are poopy at paperwork. We don't like it. Yeah. And it's probably because the majority of us are type A personalities, so we leave the detail to someone else. And here's what I will say is we have a dynamic transaction coordinator that is available to you that you can hire, and that happens to be Erica. That's another business that she has. However, I don't allow you to engage with a transaction coordinator until you've done at least 5 transactions.
Okay.
And it's not that, don't try to be restrictive. It's just that I can't see that you can ask someone to do something for you unless you know how to do it already.
That's the part I take also, yeah.
It's just, there's just too big of a disconnect, because you might have an expectation, the transaction coordinator has an expectation, and if you haven't even talked or you haven't experienced it yourself, then it just blows up in the middle of it. So
Right.
nobody's happy.
Yes.
So until you've done 5 transactions, I don't encourage you to get a transaction coordinator. If you feel that one is necessary earlier on than that, then we need to talk. But weaknesses, again, what could you improve upon? What resources do you feel you have fewer access to, or that you might be short on? For opportunities, what opportunities are open to you? What trends could you take advantage of? This is why watching what's happening in the market is so important. You don't want to miss an opportunity for you to expand your business. We'll talk about psychographics when we talk about marketing. Have you experienced, or are you familiar with psychographics at all?
No.
Okay. So we'll talk about it when we talk about marketing, but psychographics to me are so fun and exciting, because it's a way to connect with people where you have something in common versus trying to find a specific demographic or a specific geography. It's allowing you to connect with people on things that give you passion and give you drive and give you desire. So that's what we talk about a little bit when we talk about psychographics. We talk about that in marketing. And then threats, what things distract you, what things take you away from your business. Because this business can eat you up, it's really important to set standards, set appointments for the things that you need to get done, so that you can tell someone, look, I can't do it here, but I can do it here. Or no, if they can only do it here when you've blocked out some time, where does that time shift? It can't go away. It can't just disappear. It has to go somewhere.
Yeah.
So keeping those things important. So there is the next page that you get to write on. So you get to make your notes on there and see a little bit about how to fill that out when we're talking about that. Moving from there, you're going to go into our mission and our vision. This is also part, again, of your executive summary. So our mission and our vision, it's important, and again, this is that'll have to be a collaboration element for both of you, talking about what your mission is. And just to clarify it, if you'll look down into that first paragraph, your mission statements really define your company's purpose and primary objectives. So these are some examples. You can see they're not long, very simple, concise. Do they have to be realistic? No, they don't have to be realistic. They can be whatever you want, which is very simple. So these are actual real ones. If I was to say, be the global leader in convenient foods and beverages by winning the purpose. Can you think of a company that might be?
Why am I not coming up with it? I don't know, like Tyson. I don't know.
Okay.
That's what came up in my head.
Tyson.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great, because they are, everything's prepared, right?
Right.
It's convenient foods.
Yeah.
This is actually Pepsi.
Oh, is it?
This is actually Pepsi. And what's interesting is that when you look at Be Global Leader, if you're outside of the market, like if you're in Asian countries, Pepsi number 1, Coke number 2. America, Coke number 1, Pepsi number 2. But they all have food sources. They all have convenient food sources. Not as much here, but definitely, well, now they're expanding because they've been gobbling things up. But, yeah, gobble. Anyway. Anyway, so this is their mission. It's kind of what they want to participate. But is it realistic? I mean, I don't know. Be a global leader. Well, I mean, they're pretty much global. They're international. The one I love is to be Earth's most customer-centric company, where customers can find and discover anything they might want to buy online at the lowest prices.
Amazon.
Bingo.
Yeah.
But see that? Does it sound realistic? I mean, Earth's
Right. Yeah.
customer-centric, lowest price. I mean, anyway.
Right.
They seem to be achieving it pretty well. And now they're going to go space-wise, right?
Right.
Jeff Bezos. So the point is that it doesn't have to be, we don't have to be, structured. It can be fun, it can be interesting, but to have a mission is really important so that people can look at it and go, oh, this is kind of how they're looking at doing their business. And then from that you take on your vision statement, and this is really more focused on the customer. So how your mission connects with what the customer experiences.
Mhm.
That's your vision. Again, don't have to be realistic. It can be pie in the sky, it can be broad. Just really keep it to 1 or 2 sentences. If you want to end up writing a paragraph, then you have to break it down.
Right.
You have to find the keywords that make the most sense. So, mission, your vision, that piece or those pieces, and the SWOT thing are what make up your executive summary. So those are the workbook pages for that.
Okay.
When we start talking about your brand, we're really talking about how you look and impact the consumer. So the consumer views you. But in order to do that, we need to understand a little bit about who the consumer is. Love the NAR buyer seller survey. Is it gonna tell you things that you never would have thought in your entire life? No, probably not.
Mhm.
But the fact that it's on paper and the fact that you can read it and the fact that you can touch it, feel it, and see it, it makes it very real. So I don't think it would come as a shock to you that about 98% of the consumers start their search online. Probably doesn't surprise you, right?
No.
Yeah.
I'm surprised it's not 100.
Yeah, right. Right. It's the 3 old people that don't have computers still. The people who live off the grid.
Yes.
But 98% of the people are starting online. So again, this supports why it's important to have an online presence, why it's important to be able to direct someone to a website, why it's important to help share that social or that internet-based environment with a consumer on their time frame. I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't sleep much, so at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm not going to be calling you to ask you questions. I'm going to be going online to find something.
Right.
So we have to have that presence, and knowing that they expect that helps us.
Mhm.
Should help us.
Yeah.
Should help build us. So the next couple of pages here just talk a little bit about who your buyers are, what their expectations are, and who your sellers are. If you flip over, you can see that it goes 2 pages later. It goes into some of the sellers' primary reasons for selling. Again, in my head, knowledge is power. If I understand a little bit, because you'll understand this even better from your background and your degree. It's really difficult sometimes for people to tell you what they're thinking or to tell you what they need or want. Most often they don't know how to either express it, or the questions that we ask don't fall into the square or the round pegs that they're looking for. So now we're trying to give them a square peg to put into a round hole, and it doesn't make any sense to them. People don't do this every day like you do or like you will be doing in this business. So part of our job is to ask the questions, to ask the why questions. We don't. So you're looking for a home. What would you tell me about your home? I want 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, maybe 2,200 square feet, and a large lot. Oh, okay, great. And then we all of a sudden flip into MLS and start throwing properties at them.
Mhm.
We don't say, well, tell me a little bit about why 3 bedrooms are important to you. Well, we have 2 kids, and our family comes to visit often, so we think that we can have 3 bedrooms can be sufficient to have a guest room. Okay, well, do either of you work at home? Well, yes, I work at home. Okay, so how do you currently incorporate your office situation into your home? Oh, well, I'm working in my bedroom. So does that work okay for you guys? Okay, so now maybe we're looking at maybe 3 bedrooms and a den. Are you open to 4 bedroom? But to have that open conversation, they're just looking to get into a home.
Right. Right.
And we forget to ask the why questions. I mean, if you ask a why question to someone who's moving into Jacksonville from Hilliard, where it's a lot of land,
Mhm.
A large yard might be a corner lot that gives them space to move in the large backyard. You ask that to someone who's moving from New York, or they're like, well, I'm used to this much, so this much is really
Right.
You give them a corner lot and they're like, oh heck no, I'm not
Right.
I'm not dealing with that.
Yeah.
So we got to ask the why questions, and we don't. Where this information can help us is it helps us to ask the why questions. It helps us to understand a little bit about what their motivation is, rather than just take what they give us. because it's all they know.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you meet with the realtor, tell them you want 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. Like,
Right.
they get all this other information. They're not expecting you to say, well, tell me a little bit about why that's important to you. Tell me a little bit about what you're going to do with that space, or how does that work for you? Or, so tell me a little bit about your vision, your likes, your dislikes. So it really helps, even though we know that in most cases it's for example, the #1 reason people move. Now, I think this will change when we get our 2022 and 2023 buyer seller survey. I think the #1 reason is going to be affordability for living.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Or it's going to come up higher on this list.
Right.
Just because we've had so many people move from states that are a lot more expensive
Right.
into this market.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
That's
I'm
interesting.
intrigued
Yeah.
to see where it kind of goes.
Right. That's so true.
So, but even if it remains moved closer to family and friends, they don't tell us that. But we say, well, why are you making the move from out deep on the west side out to the beaches? Oh, we love the beach, and we've got some family. Oh, really? So tell me a little about where your family is. So, and is it important to be close to them? Yes. So 10 minutes close or 30 minutes close? And that helps you know geographically what's going to work for you and potentially them too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's layering those questions. We do love the next piece that I put in is that when you're selling a home, the method to use to sell a home, realtor is still #1.
Yes. Of course.
I just want to remind people of that, because as our market shifts, we're going to see for sale by owners come in,
Yeah.
because sellers are going to think that the realtor can't get them what they want, so they're going to try and do it themselves,
Right.
which is a disaster.
Yeah.
Because with a lot of times with for sale by owners, unless people are very experienced, there's too much emotion.
Mm-hmm.
We find that probably 3 to 4 times it falls out before they get one to stick, and usually they get about 12 to 17% less, because they aren't familiar with the negotiation, all the different aspects of the negotiation that occur.
Yeah.
So anyway, and then just flipping over, it's sad to think what sellers most want from agents. They really want someone who's going to be able to market their home. Shocker.
Right.
I can't tell you how many realtors don't go into an interview for a listing without a seller consult package, or say to the seller, this is my process. We talk on the phone for 5 minutes. I'll send out some information to you that'll help you prepare for our first face-to-face, and then we do a tour of the home, and then we bring back the information. They think that you should be able to just pull this number out of your head. And in many cases you can,
Mm-hmm.
but until you've seen the house, how can you possibly?
Right.
Even with my sister, who had been to their house 100 times, I didn't give them a number on our first visit, because I wasn't, the hundreds of times that I had been there, for a party or a family event or whatever, I'm not looking at it the same way.
Right.
So you got to look at it from the realtor eyes, and you've got to control the customer. They don't tell you that they want to be controlled, but they do. They want someone who's going to understand how this process works. So
Yeah.
those are just some of the things to look at and think about. Most important factors in selecting an agent, just so you know the reputation of the agent.
Mm-hmm.
That's the next page. They want to know the reputation of the agent. The agent is honest and trustworthy. So if you add 35 and 19, that's almost 55%. 55%, the top 2 that people want from the realtor.
Yeah.
So, and unfortunately, this market will have done us some damage. But I gotta tell you, when the market, before that bubble, we had 7,200 agents in our board, and when the bubble hit, we went down to about 45.
That's what I'm thinking. It's gonna balance out, right?
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right. But what was really interesting was that the number of complaints did the same thing.
Oh, really?
The number of complaints at the board did the same thing.
Interesting.
If you look at the complaints that we have at the board now, people arguing, oh, hey, how are you? I'm sorry, 1 second.
Sure.
Poor, it's my mother-in-law. Hey! And more, we're going to stop for just a second. Let's get some water or something.
Okay.